Okay, this is the City of San Diego Commission on Police Practices Ad Hoc Transition Planning Committee meeting of September the 30th, 2022. I can't believe that September is already over.
Yep.
And present today, I'll do a roll call by the Zoom screen. I am Doug Case. I am the chair of the ad hoc committee and first vice chair of the commission. We have commission chair Brendan Hilpert. We have members of this committee, Nancy Vaughn, Diana Dent, and Robin Spruce. And we have Kate Yemendetti from Women Occupy, who is our liaison with San Diego's for Justice. And as staff, we have Charmaine Mosley, our interim executive director, and Robin Resendez, who is our complaints coordinator. And did we receive any public comment?
No public comment received.
Okay. And do we have any participants in the waiting room or anything? No, just us. Okay. So why don't you go ahead and put up the agenda. And if you can, there you go. Okay, and so updates on the budget process. The commission did send to the city council a memorandum that we discussed at our meeting on Tuesday, which asked them to continue to prioritize the Commission on Police Practices and added 1.5 positions, which we've discussed previously. And that includes an additional program coordinator, which is made necessary by the creation of the separate position for the deputy executive director and a mediation coordinator for half of the year. In terms of staffing, it doesn't look like David has joined us yet. And so he can give us an update when he joins us on the searches for the community engagement coordinator and the supervising investigator. But Robin has reached out to the community groups who are part of the community panel for the community engagement coordinator position. And do you want to give a report, Robin?
Sure, very formally here. Yeah, so we have representatives who have agreed to be on the panel from San Diego Black Workers Center, Allied Gardens, Grantville Community Council, League of Women Voters, Mid-City Can. That person might change, but they are committed to participating. National Lawyers Guild, Pillars of the Community, Racial Justice Coalition, San Diegans for Justice, and Women Occupy San Diego. We have our first meeting set for next Thursday, at which time we will take a look at the form that they all have to complete for confidentiality, and then we're going to generate questions.
Okay, perfect. Were there any groups that declined to participate this time around? Okay, so we got the same people. And we go back to the agenda. Okay, and then the next issue is the implementation ordinance and the standard operating procedures. Well, if you were to go to the city's website right now, let me exit full screen so I can go to it. Hold on a second. On the agenda for, well, on the agendas page for Monday's special meeting in the afternoon, and they're doing that because they're having a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors in the morning. If you click on what it says special council meeting and adjournment revised, it gives you, instead of the agenda, a memorandum, which indicates what's going to be on the agenda, but it's not in an agenda format. But the next to the last item on that memorandum with the list of agenda items is a determination of collective bargaining matters related to proposed implementation ordinance for the Commission on Police Practices and proposed interim standard operating procedures. And so I'm not quite sure. Let me go back to the screen as to what that means. So we did meet me and Brandon and Kevin as the officers met with Shanilo Rivera on Tuesday, and he told us to expect a supplemental agenda that would be out before the required 2 p.m. today. That would include, there you go. If you want to scroll down, you can see that.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if you can enlarge it or not, but anyway, it would include a agenda item for implementation ordinance that would include the current draft of the ordinance. And he indicated that there had been no, I think the language that he used was essentially intact. And essentially what he was saying is that it is essentially the same as what was referred to a meet and confer, and there had not been any major changes. And I happen to see Council President Pro Tempore Monica Montgomery Stepp last night at a function, and she basically said the same thing, and indicated they were waiting for a response from the POA as to whether or not they wanted to go to fact finding. If they go to fact finding, means that there is an impasse. If there's an impasse, they have a process of going to fact finding before it comes back to the council. And if they did not make that request by the close of business yesterday, then the city council would be able to consider the updated ordinance at that time. And so I know just what you know of what you're seeing on the screen, that there's going to be a determination of the collecting bargaining matters, and so I don't know what that means. Presumably there will be a full agenda that will be out today, so we can look and see what the quote essentially intact agenda, ordinance looks like. And it does answer the question here that we asked Sean, but he didn't know the answer to, but it does indicate that the proposed ordinance and the amended interim standard operating procedures will be considered together as a package, but it could be that just referring both of those to a fact finding process or whatever. So I see Kate's hand is up, and we'll go from there. So Kate.
Hi. So we were told something quite different from staff at D9. So I don't, maybe yours is more recent.
We met with Sean on Wednesday.
Okay, I can't remember if this was Wednesday or yesterday, but we were told that it was at the city attorney's office for review, and that the council members didn't have it yet. But you're telling, clearly they have it if they know it is quote unquote essentially intact.
Well, I'm not sure they have it or yet, because actually when I saw the council president pro tem last night, she indicated that that the city attorney's office would need to be preparing the documents for the agenda today, and that they probably would not be up prior to 2 o'clock. So that would be consistent.
Yeah, that's what we were told, that we're not getting anything until the drop of the 24-hour period at 2 o'clock today.
Yeah, I mean, we're told that too, and we asked about that, and they indicated that that they wanted to proceed expeditiously, and so we made the request that there be more time between the release and the consideration, and the response indicated that it had already been decided that they were going to proceed on October 3rd with whatever action was necessary, and that it didn't sound like they would be willing to consider a continuance. So,
Right, and of course, we made the same request and also got nowhere. I mean, it's clearly deliberate to give us time. You know, and I don't know if the CPP is gonna get this at 2 o'clock and make your own comments by 2 o'clock on Monday. You obviously can't have a special meeting between now and then,
Right.
I would assume. So,
one of the things that we express the same request to obviously be able to have enough time to review it. And if we only received it at 2 p.m. today, obviously it makes it very difficult for us to throw out an agenda, get it, you know, even if we do a special meeting with 24 hours notice, that means we're gonna have to have the meeting literally Saturday, Sunday, well, Sunday really, and then be able to formulate any kind of our thoughts or feedback to be able to present Monday. So what they basically had shared with us is that the city attorney had it and they were making some adjustments or changes, or it was getting routed and all that. And so that was kind of the process that they were going through. So hopefully from what he said, if it's pretty much substantially, as Doug said, substantially the same as what it was when it went into meet and confer. If that's true, then we probably wouldn't have too many concerns, but we won't know, and obviously until we see it.
yeah,
right. And depending upon what the action is going to be on Monday, if it's going to be simply to begin a fact-finding process, then timing is not of the essence, because they're not going to consider the ordinance until it comes back from a fact-finding process. If there is no fact-finding process and they're going to be actually considering the adoption of the ordinance on Monday, that doesn't give us a lot of time to go through and compare the two versions to see whether or not there's any changes that.
so are we gonna know that? Will the agenda say that, or we don't know, of course, what it's gonna say?
Yeah, all I know is, because I was expecting to see it. Well, I didn't know whether the agenda. I was expecting a supplemental agenda to be posted by 2 o'clock, and I went online 15 minutes prior to the meeting and saw that there is a memorandum about the agenda, but the supplemental agenda is not prepared yet. It may be because the city attorney's office is still dealing with the documents that have to be posted. So I don't know any more than anybody else does.
So I mean, I guess assuming that it comes out the way it went in, I know that we're going to still strongly object to the mandatory exclusion that was added after public comment. And I don't know if we're going to kind of go back to some of the other more minor matters that we objected to previously, but we're obviously concerned.
And okay, anyways, that's kind of where we are there. And so I would encourage everybody to go back to the website, the city's website at 2 o'clock to see whether or not there is a supplemental agenda with an attachment, so we can see exactly what is going to be considered on Monday at the 2 o'clock meeting. Okay, we can put the agenda back up. Nothing new on office space or standing rules. Anything besides what you already reported yet on community outreach?
Nope, that's what I've been focusing on.
Okay, and so I mentioned the meeting with the council president, Elo Rivera, previously, and I guess I should be referring to him by his title instead of his first name. This is an official meeting. And we had 5 agenda items. So we talked about the selection process for the commissioners, and as you'll recall, the ordinance, at least the ordinance that went to meet and confer, says that the commission may develop an operating procedure to make nominations. Assuming that will remain intact, we need to develop an operating procedure. And I guess we need to find out whether or not that operating procedure needs to be approved by the city council, or whether that's something we adopt on our own. We discussed this last week, had discussed who would be on the committee and not the individuals, but the positions would be on the committee and so forth. And the process that we outlined to the council president was that we would continue to take nominations from the form that is on the boards and commissions website. All those names would be given to the nominations committee. The nominations committee would go through a process that would include interviews, review of the application and references, not references, but the materials along with the application, and then interview the candidates and make recommendations. With regard to the council specific, there's 9 places on the permanent commission that will be designated for each of the city council districts. It's been made very clear that the city council members want to be the person that approves that appointment. And both the council president and Henry Foster, the chief of staff for District 4, indicated they thought that it was appropriate to have the committee look at all of the names and make recommendations to the city council members, as long as the city council members still have the ability to make that determination. And so we would forward all of the names received to the city council, including who we wanted to recommend for appointment to all the 25 seats. And probably, since the first group would be determined, half would be for 2-year terms and half would be for 4-year terms. We would recommend which are to be appointed for each seat, and then the city council would act upon those recommendations. So that's what we proposed with him. He indicated that it sounded reasonable to him, but he didn't want to give a stamp of approval on behalf of the city council because he needs to consult with the rest of the city council. And so I think it probably would behoove us to go ahead and draft that operating procedure. And I'll take a stab at that prior to next week's meeting. It's going to be a busy week for me, but I think I can get that done. And we can discuss that at our next meeting. The second process was the selection of the executive director, and we discussed, the process we had suggested previously. And again, you said that it sounded reasonable to him, and we discussed this with him at a previous meeting, and he was the one who thought the process sounded reasonable, but recommended that the commission not rank order the 3 finalists the city council would decide upon. And so we also, perhaps we can put that in the form of a procedure. We had asked or suggested that we amend the ordinance to give us the ability to develop that procedure, and they decided not to proceed with that, but it doesn't preclude us from developing that procedure. So I think we should develop both of those procedures. And so I'll take responsibility for drafting both of those. We can look at that at the next week's meeting. I'm thinking that we probably need to be prepared at our October commission meeting to approve these procedures, especially for the appointment of the commissioners, so that if the ordinances, I guess it depends upon whether or not we anticipate that the ordinance will be adopted in the next month, or whether or not we have to wait for it to come back from meeting and confer. But I think maybe we can still, on a contingency basis, adopt the procedures, because I don't think they're going to take away from us that ability. So trying to think, what was the third item was we simply gave him an update of the status of the commission and how many commissioners we have and how many cases we have and our timeline and so forth. So that was more of an informational thing. We already talked about the request for adequate time to review the proposed implementation ordinance. And we also discussed the ability of our council to be involved in the meet and confer for the standard operating procedure for investigations. And he asked the question, and we told him that we had been told that we would be able to participate in that, just like we had in the interim standard operating procedures, or at least the initial version of that, because that was something that had been initiated by us, whereas the ordinance was initiated by the council. And he asked us who told us that, and I think it was Joan, but I'm not sure. Do you recall, Charmaine?
I can try to jump in. I think it was Joan. And I think the reason, as you said, the reason why we were allowed to participate in that is because we were the one that drafted that actual document. But I feel like it was Joan Dawson that told us that.
And so those were the 5 items we discussed. Anything else you want to talk about at the meeting? I think it was a good meeting, and so we can move on to the next item of the agenda. Is recruitment and selection of the permanent commissioners, and so we need to next week look at the operating procedure for that, so that we can have the council approve that, and the same thing with the selection process for the permanent executive director. And item C, the draft implementation ordinance, we don't have it to discuss, and so other than telling you what the status of it is, we have nothing to discuss at the moment. And then we also are waiting for the implementation ordinance to adopt, to begin the process of finalizing the standard operating procedures for, I'm sorry, I'm reading the next item wrong. The standard operating procedure for review of SDPD internal investigations. And I think we decided last week that we would recommend to the new commission that they simply use the same process that we use for review of complaint generated investigations. So I'm not sure we need to take any action on D beyond that, unless anybody has any further thoughts on that. And where I started to go before I misread D was that once we have the implementation ordinance, we can proceed with the investigation procedures. And I think even once we have a updated version of it, we'll have an indication of what's going to be in those procedures, unless there is an impasse over something that relates to that. And so we can go ahead and from our end finalize the investigation procedures, so that as soon as the implementation ordinance is adopted, we can put those forward, because those have to be approved by the city council, and we'll also have to go through a meet and confer process. So anything on any of that?
Kate has her hand up.
Okay, go ahead. Kate. You're on mute, Kate.
I know, I lost it. Actually, this isn't related to that. It's sort of going back to the ordinance stuff. The ordinance only requires 1 reading and vote, not 2.
We were told 2.
It does require 2. So if we don't like what comes out on Monday, we still have time.
That's true.
And is there a time period between the 2? Is it 30 days?
I'm trying to, is it 30 days between the first and second reading?
That's my understanding, is 30 days, yes.
Okay. Can you confirm that, Charmaine? I think that's correct, but I don't remember. Charmaine shaking her head yes, and so.
Yes, I'll confirm so.
Okay. Okay, and so in terms of agenda items for next week, well, we have the 2 items that I volunteered to do, and then we may or may not have the implementation ordinance to discuss. We'll have, oh, David is here. so let's go back. I didn't even notice you were here. And can you give us an update on the recruitment for the 2 positions? Okay. I
Dave,
can't.
if you're muted and on your phone, you can hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi there.
There you go.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm on the road, so I have bad reception. I can't hear well, but so I'll just want to give you a brief update. So we have started the screening reviews for the supervising investigator position. I'm going to have that finished up by next week, and I will be talking with Charmaine about recommendations on that right after that. And started to go through the community engagement coordinator positions. And so I will be, as soon as I finish up the supervisory investigator interviews, we'll begin to schedule those interviews and we'll have that basically done within the next 2 weeks. So that's what I have to report.
Okay, and going back to the community engagement coordinator. Last time we had a committee that selected the semifinalist that the community panel, well, to put forward to the community panel. I assume we're keeping the same process, and my question is, who should be on that panel? Last time it was myself and Nancy and Patrick and Diana. Is that correct? And obviously, we can keep the same ones, or we can do it differently. Obviously, replacing Patrick with Robin. Thoughts on that?
I think the general idea was everybody on the transition committee, correct? Everyone that
initially we had a smaller committee, but then we decided when we were trying to figure it out, it was just easier to add everybody. But we can have this committee do that function. That's fine with me.
Yeah, I think the idea was everyone who was a commissioner that was on this committee would be on that panel. I thought.
Okay, then that's what we'll do. And so
does anyone else have comments? And I see Kate has her hand up, but any other commissioners as well?
Yeah, Kate, and then Charmaine.
I got a little distracted because I just got an email that came in that said that the agenda is out with the ordinance. So I just wanted people to know that. And I wasn't listening, but I thought that the CP, the panel you were talking about had a community member on it. Not just the community panel. No. Okay.
No, that's for a subsequent committee. And so the process is we have the selection of the semifinalists. We have the community panel.
Oh, that's after the community panel. Okay.
Okay, and then the committee that makes the recommendations to Charmaine would have a community member on it.
Okay.
And then
I just wasn't listening close enough because I got distracted.
Okay, no problem. Charmaine, you had your hand raised and then you lowered it. So
I just wanted to make sure that that's the panel that the commission voted on previously.
I think so. Yes.
Commission panel that included that included me.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Robin, yeah.
Then maybe we can go take a peek at what was posted. Robin.
Yeah, okay. I need to be clearer on this because I'm realizing I'm super confused. And I'm going to be speaking to the community panel next Thursday, so I want to be clear. We have applicants to the community engagement coordinator position. And the next step is that the smaller group of commissioners that are on this committee are going to review those candidates and create semifinalists.
Right.
And those semifinalists will be interviewed by the community panel.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think last time we were, how many did we decide on? Was it, I think we were aiming towards 7. And I forget how many, and we put forth, I think 8, but just as an estimate, there probably will be between 7 and 10 people for them to interview. It kind of depends upon who the applicants are, and sometimes there's kind of a natural, a natural cutoff in terms of the applicants. Whereas if there's a lot of applicants who are very similar in their qualifications, it may just give them more. And so it would be no more than 10 and probably more than 5. So, okay.
And I don't see the agenda being updated yet. I just went to the website and I still see the same memorandum. And I even tried refreshing as well, just in case, but it's the same document we just looked at a little bit ago.
Huh, I wonder where, Kate, did they say where they saw it from? No.
No, I just get, when I have this on, I just have a little thing that tells me about emails coming in, and I got an email from Yasmin that said it's out. So that's all I know.
Okay.
It is not yet up on the website.
Maybe you got a personal copy.
Maybe so.
Well, they
Okay,
have 58
Yes.
minutes, so the next
It is.
hour.
It is out. I just
Oh,
got
it
the
is?
email. Mhm,
you got it in your email?
mhm. It says revised, and it's item 635.
Okay, well, what does it say?
Same lingo as before, determination of collective bargaining. So let me go ahead and open up the website right now. Item 635.
Maybe they just haven't updated that link from the city site yet.
Yeah, maybe it might take some time. Yep. Oh, it's here. Let me share my screen.
German, okay. So some item A is resolution resolving the impasse between the city and the City Police Officers Association related to the Commission on Police Practices. And then okay, and then the second item is the introduction of the ordinance, and the third item is the approval of the standard operating procedures. Okay, and can you click on the? Does it have the items? What happens when you click on that?
Nothing, it's still. Maybe it's not downloaded yet. I don't see any links yet.
Yeah, usually when it says item details, those are links to whatever the
Yeah.
documents are. So it looks like it's just not
Not there yet.
fully up yet.
Okay, and so the first item. Well, see, it's interesting, and it says the resolution resolving the impasse. And it's not a resolution referring to fact finding, so it could be that that it's a resolution to adopt the I forget what the terminology is, but the best and last offer. So it sounds like whatever the impasse is will be resolved by resolution, and then after they resolve that, they will consider the ordinance and the standard operating procedures. And the fact that they have the terminology of introduction of an ordinance leads me to believe that they're going to be introducing the ordinance and not going to be referring the ordinance. So, but again, that's just my reading of the words that are on the page. So, and Charmaine, did you get this from the website, or where did you get this from?
Website.
From what?
The website.
This is the city website.
It was on the website. Okay. Okay, so I guess we can wait.
Can you move it up a little bit? Does it say that there's going to be a vote?
It says, okay, stop there. Agenda discussion, ordinances.
With resolutions to be adopted, that means a vote?
The bottom there, it says, if you scroll to the bottom of 635, it says resolution approving amended interim operating procedures.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that for the ordinance.
Well, and maybe because that's the introduction of the ordinance. I don't know. That's a good question.
And it looks to me like it's at the very end of the agenda.
That's correct. And it's a long agenda too.
It's a very long agenda. Do you think any pressure can be put on the council president to move it to the top of the agenda for public comment? Probably not, huh?
I'm guessing not, and that's problematic because if they moved an item up on the agenda, then people who were anticipating that it'd be lower on the agenda,
Well, except Myrtle Cole did that to us once in the old days when we were supposed to be on the end of the agenda and we told people to show up, at 3:30 or 4, and then she put it at the top and nobody was there. So I guess it can be done. I don't know within what time period. Well, I'll check in with D9 and see if this means that there's just a discussion or if it means there's actually a vote. I guess you guys will too, huh?
right. So we'll find out what this means. So
I think at least as it relates to us, it sounds like at least there will be a vote on the amended interim standard operating procedures. And my guess is they will pass, assuming they vote to approve it. They'll pass that. So sub item C will get passed. And my read of it is sub item B. I think that's essentially going to be the first reading of the implementation ordinance. This is kind of how I'm reading it.
yeah, that's my assumption too.
Yeah.
I'm not positive that's correct, but that would be my assumption.
So yeah, and I'm not sure about the resolving the impasse piece. I'm not sure exactly what that means. So
Yeah, I don't either. And hopefully the full agenda, hopefully the agenda materials will clarify all that. So, and the meeting starts at 2, by the way. So it's because they have a 10 o'clock meeting in the morning with the
county.
supervisors of the county. So we'll see what happens here. I have an event on Monday night, which I may or may not go to, although I paid quite a bit for it, depending upon whether or not this is going to be a pro forma thing or whether or not it will be important to have testimony. So we'll see.
Well, once we see what comes out, hopefully in the next 50 minutes or so, we can take a look at it and then we'll figure out what our next steps are.
Okay. And let's go back to the agenda. I think we can,
I'm sure that CPP will figure it out, but will somebody let me know what CPP plans to do? Because we also are, of course, I'm actually got a Zoom meeting at 1:30 to talk about this with our allies, so be good
why
to
don't-
know.
yeah, I don't think we have time for a special meeting. And so
Right.
you know, if there are concerns about the revised ordinance, you know, we would speak as individuals and express our concern. But if there are things that have been discussed, you know, acted upon previously by the commission, then we can speak on behalf of the commission. Otherwise, we can
Yeah.
just indicate that the commission hasn't had a chance to review it, but we can be speaking as an individual. And if there's some serious concerns, we may try to get, you know, several commissioners to attend, give testimony.
Yeah. I was just hoping that I could have some kind of an idea about anything that you see that's problematic that, you know, that we might not pick up on, that we could, you know, also comment on.
So, okay, when is your
Maybe,
meeting?
maybe if you guys come up with something, would you mind sending me an email over the weekend or whatever?
Sure.
Kate, I can do that. And by the way,
Thanks, Brandon.
all of the items are now up on the website
Oh, with the,
with all the links. They're all up there. All the supporting documents are now linked.
okay, let's hold on for a second and let's take a look and see what we have.
Here, I can share my screen if it's easiest.
Yeah, why don't you do
I
that?
think. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so
Click on,
here's the strikeout version. Actually, it'll be interesting to see because I think the strikeout's also including what was from the old charter. It looks
Yeah,
like.
this is 35 pages.
Yeah. Let's see if we get to. Yeah, this is like, I think it's just a lot of the strikeouts and the new underline stuff, I think. Well, this is mostly the same as what we had before. Yeah. It looks like at least the commission members look like it's the same. I don't think there's any changes there.
yeah, why don't we go back for a second and take a look at what the impasse issue was. So on the resolution resolving the impasse.
This is all the,
Long resolution.
there's a lot going on there.
Okay, go down further. Let's go down to the end and see what it says.
I saw POA. Except for one issue. Well, I want to go back. Except for one issue raised by the POA remains in dispute.
There's 2 disputed issues. Okay, here it is. It says, whereas on October 30th, the city declared an impasse of the POA over 2 disputed issues, specifically the city's proposed prohibition of family members of law enforcement in San Diego County from serving on the commission, and over a request for the commission to provide advance notice to officers prior to the commission's disclosure of records in accordance with the California Public Records Act. I'm not sure what that means. A request Oh, a request for the commission to provide advance notice to officers prior to disclosure, okay. Then go further.
So it sounds like, at least for the prohibition of family members being able to serve on the commission, sounds like the POA just agreed to defer the discussion to a later date.
Okay, which is why I want to go down, keep on going.
Well, there's the records piece right there.
POA agreed to defer discussion to a later date when commission's panel. Whereas under the
It sounds like for those issues that the way it was quote resolved is by kicking the can down the road. I think it sounds like they're basically saying we'll discuss this at a future point in time, and so therefore we can continue to move forward.
okay, but for the operating procedures, but what for the we come resolve the impasse between the city and the POA by imposing the city's last, best, and final officer to the POA. Okay, continued on down. Or alternatively, by modifying proposal and directing the city management to return to the bargaining on the modified proposal. Okay, so I guess that they vote on what whether they're going to proceed or refer it back to bargaining.
Well, my ex is out of town for the weekend.
Well, I guess it'll be interesting to hear what they talk about.
Okay, so
And then the other items.
yeah, click on the amended standard operating procedures.
Well, it doesn't look like this has a strikeout version of any changes, but sounds like the only issue they had was the POA was requesting advance notice before release of records under CPRA. This discussion has been deferred.
Okay. Which is interesting because that wasn't part of the amendment.
Of the request, no. It
And so,
wasn't. Well, I think what we can also do.
So we have the with the declaration of the impasse, but it's no, city's position on disputed, click on city's position with disputed issues with the POA.
So it looks like the POA just wants the family members to be able to be eligible to serve on the commission, and they also want a wider prohibition of potential commissioners that have a prior criminal conviction of any felony crime, not just a specified crime set forth in the proposed implementation ordinance.
Okay, then go down further for the city's position. Okay. And is that the end of the document? No, there's two issues. Okay, disclosure. Okay. Okay. So those were the two issues.
Yeah, that's it.
And so
There's the POA
And again,
responses.
yeah, and so I guess, again, the actions that they can take are to proceed to adopt the ordinance or to refer it to further bargaining. And I'm guessing that they probably are going to adopt the ordinance, just based upon what the council president said to us. Okay, so
Well, I think what we could probably do is we could take a look at these various documents in more depth when we're not all on a Zoom. And if there's anything that we have concerns on, we can touch base on them.
and it'd be nice to find out if we can get an estimate of when this was going to be considered on Monday.
I know when we've tried in the past, that's not always
Right.
easy to do. It's usually a very, very wide range.
And I saw that there is an issue regarding community planning groups and giving them stipends on the agenda earlier, which I'm sure is going to have a lot of public comment. So who here is available to attend the city council meeting on Monday after 2 p.m.?
Hang on, I'm checking my calendar.
Well, I don't know if we'll have people there in person, but we will certainly be there.
Right.
I can't see sitting in a council meeting from 2 o'clock until 7 o'clock waiting to be heard, so.
And what is the current, I didn't take a look at that. What is the current process for public comment?
I think they're still allowing
You can do
virtual
both.
public comment.
But are they accepting in-person public comment as well or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. They're allowing both right now. They're kind of doing a hybrid mix.
And is the virtual one via a Zoom or just a
Yeah, it's still by Zoom. And then I think you can even do group presentations, but everyone has to be there in the Zoom when you're doing your group presentation. Otherwise, they subtract out those minutes that you were seated.
okay? And do they do the people in person first, or do they do the Zoom first, or do they alternate back and forth?
I think they do the in-person first, if I remember right from one of the previous meetings. I think it's in-person first, and then I believe they go to the virtual.
So,
And then we have a
As I
cabinet.
recall, is it right, Brandon, that the virtual is without camera?
Correct.
okay, the virtual is without camera. Okay, so but it's via Zoom, but it's an audio.
Yes.
Okay.
Or I
And-
mean, people can call in as well. I mean, it's the same thing, but if you're on Zoom, it's just the audio of it. And then we have a cabinet meeting at 2:30, but obviously we can reschedule that if we need to be at the city council meeting.
Okay, but are you available that afternoon, early evening?
Yes, I will make myself available.
Okay, and well, I'll read through everything to see if there's anything that is alarming, and if so, I will cancel my attendance at the event that evening. If it's something that I think one or two people can speak on behalf of the commission on, then I won't. And so I'll take a look at what we have and decide to proceed from there. And why don't we wait until, well, we already know what's going to be on our agenda for, I guess we can. We already discussed what's going to be on the agenda for next week. We're going to keep A and B. Well, I guess, and C. And why don't we go ahead and add a other item of the standard operating procedures for investigations.
I have to go to my other meeting. Bye.
So, yeah, I think we're done here anyway, so,
Thanks, Kate.
okay, anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay, and I can go check on the 25 texts that came in from work where it was at this meeting, so thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.